Hi, everyone. I want to deal with a question that a lot of people I feel like have been asking themselves, asking others. I definitely have thought about it a bunch over the last few months. With the question being, how do we sort of register this gap? Where on the one hand, right, we don't have, we're sort of maybe discouraging people still from coming to shul, but on the other hand, pushing them to go out to work, to go, send kids to school, to go out to various other places. Maybe, now it looks like we're headed back, unfortunately, in the opposite direction. But how do you register that sort of conflict? Like, why are we being, more careful about people going to shul and less so about going to work and doing sorts of other things? And I was recently reading a piece by my Rosh Yeshiva Rav Yehuda Amital Zatzal in Resisei Tal. It's his 10th yahrtzeit this Sunday, so I was looking for something to share by him about it. And the point that he raises, I think, is very relevant to the discussion. He has a whole piece there about this concept of Shomer Petaim Hashem. There's this halachic concept that in certain dangerous situations, where we're forbidden from entering into dangerous situations, a question of whether it's forbidden mina Torah or midirabanan, it's whole machloket, between the Rishonim and the Achronim, but that in certain situations, what Chazal say is that Hashem will protect us. Right? Hashem protects those who are foolish. And there's different ways of understanding it, right? How much do we apply this in certain situations where we might have thought that it's dangerous, but actually, really it's not as dangerous as perhaps we originally thought? Or do we apply it really in situations where there actually is a level of danger, and yet we say we're not concerned, that we say that Hashem will protect people in that situation? And the discussion comes up both with regards to doing things that are mitzvah-oriented activities, right? If you have to do a certain mitzvah and there's a certain level of danger involved in it, but also comes up with regards to dvar reshut, right? Doing something that's permitted, right? It's not something that you have to do, but like going on a tiyul, right? So he quotes in the piece, he quotes a machloket between Rav Kook and Rav Moshe Feinstein about whether a person is allowed to go on a tiyul that has a certain level of danger. Rav Kook advised his son to not do so, and Rav Moshe Feinstein wrote that one is allowed to enter into this small level of risk, right? It's a devar reshut, right? It's just going on a trip. Rav Amital wants to, at the end, build a distinction between two different principles that I think is very relevant for the question I raised at the beginning. Tosfot in Masechet Yuma talk about the concept of pikuach nefesh, of saving a person's life. Right? It's based off of this idea of v'chai bahem v'lo she'amut bahem, that Hashem gave us the command, they gave us the mitzvah in order to live with them and not to die with them. And what Tosfot say there, their explanation in Masechet Yuma, is what it means is that in those situations where there is a danger, the mitzvot don't apply, right? The mitzvot aren't relevant. The mitzvah was not commanded in that situation, right? It's not, in other words, that it's not that there's this conflict between, on the one hand, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, do this mitzvah, but on the other hand, it's dangerous, so the danger comes and, is more important than the mitzvah. But because of the existence of the danger, the mitzvah doesn't exist at all. Right? In other words, that in that situation, there is no mitzvah. Right, that is, one of the possibilities mentioned in terms of understanding that principle. So we base this off of that Tosfot. So that's one question, right? When we're talking about a mitzvah sphere, does the mitzvah exist in a situation of danger or not? That's one question. A different but related question is a person allowed to endanger themselves at all, right? And in terms of doing mitzvah, in terms of doing a reshut, something that's not commanded but that they want to do. And that is a separate question. Rav Amital suggests that it's possible that in a case where there's a small danger, that the danger would be enough that we'd say that the mitzvah is not relevant anymore, that one is not commanded in that situation to fulfill the mitzvah. In other words, so the mitzvah has sort of fallen by the wayside. There's no longer this command. And yet the danger is small enough that a person is allowed to endanger themselves. And I think that chiluk, it's part of a much wider discussion and deserves more full treatment, but did want to share for the purpose of the short Dvar Halacha this basic idea. In other words, that it's possible that we'd say that a danger is so low that we would allow a person to enter into that type of a situation, and yet we'd still say, that the danger is high enough that we'd say that the mitzvah does not necessarily apply in that situation. And I think that that's something that we could apply also with regards to going out, that we may allow people to say, that it's okay, right? You can if you want, right? If you don't have to, but if you feel the need to, you can go out to work, you can go out to shop and do other various activities. And yet we're not going to push people to go out to do a mitzvah, not just because of the fact that there is this danger, but that we're saying that since a certain level of danger does exist, that maybe we'd say that the mitzvah of tefillah b'tzibur doesn't apply in the same way that it normally would. For those watching, not in our kihila, I will mention that Be'ezrat Hashem this Shabbat we are trying to have tefillah and to keep Be'ezrat Hashem to all the guidelines, so that we can have this balance between making sure that we're staying safe and yet also engaging in communal prayer. And Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope that Hashem will answer our tefillot, and that with all the unity, God willing, that we'll experience and try and engage in over the next few weeks, Be'ezrat Hashem, He will remove this magifa from us. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.